And all the brothers and sisters said, "Amen."
I love that you think we're going to punch him in the mouth.
Fingers crossed, right?
And I ain't butt
Come on,
chugging
fellas,
anything.
we got to do some content here.
In the Venn diagram of fucked up, I'm not sure where that fits, but I'm pretty sure I hit the nail right on the head there.
Works well under close Nick Saban adult supervision.
Randy Sanders has the team dialed in. They are ready to go.
How many bananas do you want out of me?
Don't know. I kind of want to give Vanderbilt some love here.
I love those head games at the two.
You got to weigh
ends.
all your
It's
options.
so much fun.
Nobody wants to go Lane Kiffin here? I might go Lane Kiffin here.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Liquor Leagues is here for another week. Week 10 is behind us, and we're getting ready to jump into week 11. All of the boys are here in the studio, and we're ready to get started. Gentlemen, how's everybody doing?
What a great
Roll Tide. I mean,
Great.
go Gators.
Go
I mean,
Gators. Wait,
go Vols.
Vols?
It's a great weekend. Great
Go
weekend for
Vandy.
football overall. Holy cow.
All right. There you go. Oh,
Yeah, you were texting out
Hey,
earlier. You're
whoa,
right. I mean, this
easy.
was an amazing week for college football, especially SEC college football. So
Can
great.
we get a Go Flames?
Yeah, we should go
Come on,
Flames.
Go
Go
Flames.
Flames.
Oh, Flames!
That's it. That is it. Look, they pulled it out at the end. I mean, they were doing very well, and then if you watch that game as it wore on, it was like, oh, okay, they may find themselves in a hole, but they held them off, and that's how you win, right? I mean, that's the point. You find a way to win.
8-1.
That's
I don't know
Yeah,
how they're
what-
not in the conversation for the college football playoffs.
I'm sorry. What conference are they in again?
It doesn't matter.
I'm just asking.
I don't know, honestly.
Exactly. And that's the way it will remain. He's like, I have no idea. I just went with them and it paid off. It paid dividends for you. And it did. And, you got to take that win and enjoy it. I will say this. Let me finish up real quick. And I apologize. No. Do it right, fucko. I'll edit this out.
You do that because I'm also trying to figure out. There is a quarterback, and I can't remember which one is a starting quarterback that's currently in the NFL that played at Liberty University. I'm trying to remember who it is now, and I can't.
Really?
Yeah, and he's actually doing really well, which is another reason why I'm a little flustered that I can't remember who it is. This list is shit and is not going to help me.
Where is all right? So let's go ahead. There we go, and there we go.
It wasn't Hingle McCringleberry, was it?
It might be
Might be.
Malik
Yeah, he was
Willis.
from Penn State.
Willis,
Malik
yeah,
Willis
he's
with the
drafted by the
Titans.
Titans in the third
Yep.
round.
There you go.
Yeah, that's who it is.
Okay. All right, gents. Well, here we are.
Thank
What?
you, Evans. Grinch.
Evans.
Grinch
Evans
Daddy.
Grinch.
Grinch Daddy.
There you go. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into the week that was week 10. We'll go ahead and put this, it's in the bank. Let's see where we ended up for the week. We had a slate of 7 games. I have to say, Haas, you made a call at the last minute. You went ahead and swapped up your Texas A&M pick for Florida. I believe that article was 12 starters were down with flu. Apparently,
like
flu was
symptoms,
running
yeah.
rampant not only in the locker room but across the entire campus there at Texas A&M. You made a choice to go with Florida.
I love how they're calling gonorrhea the flu now.
Yeah, it is what it is. And I have to say it paid dividends to you because you are now single-handedly out in front of everybody by 2 games. So Grinch and I split the weekend. So, it was 1-for-1. I went Tennessee. He went Georgia. I went Missouri, or we both went Missouri. I'm sorry. He went Texas A&M. I went Florida. So we split the cost. He and I stayed tied in second place, but you jump out to we've been doing this back and forth. Everybody's been even for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And you finally decided to jump out 2-game lead with 3 weeks left. That may bode well for you. So we just have to see. Mac,
I'm excited.
your
Back
Liberty
Tennessee.
pick. Your Liberty pick was good, but
Every other pick
unfortunately,
was for shit.
so you're still 3 games back, unfortunately. But you had a solid weekend. You had 6 wins on the weekend.
Yeah. It's
So
fucking
no, you
Tennessee.
didn't. This one, I'm sorry. We all were down.
Yeah. Alabama, LSU. I was gonna say,
That was wishful thinking on my part.
it threw everybody off.
Yeah, it was not expected. I'm sorry. So that's, let me go ahead and do this.
Haas should get a 5.
No, I'm good.
Who the fuck is keeping score at this shit?
Either way, you're still 2 games
Yeah, it's
ahead.
still 2 up.
Yeah,
It's just
still
it
two
doesn't
up.
change anything overall.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our games for the week. I apologize for our listeners at home. We are adjusting our counts for our picks. So we'll go ahead and start at the top, work top down. Arkansas over Liberty. We all went Arkansas. Mac, for whatever reason, decided to go Liberty. And at the end, it paid off. Now, I guess the only issue I had with this game was that they drive down. Arkansas scores. They have a chance to tie it up with a 2-point conversion. And I'm not sure why they ran Jefferson up the fucking middle on a 2-point conversion. It's the choice they made, and he came up short. And so we end 21-19, because at that point, there was like 1 minute and 2 seconds left on the clock, and Liberty could just take a fucking knee and run out the game. But Mac, I mean, you made the right call, brother. I don't know what it was that you saw, but
I saw 8-1, and I haven't seen shit really from Arkansas in a while.
and that's the weird
no.
thing.
I admittedly
Very
went for the
bizarre.
SEC strength bias on this.
I did too.
I think we both did. We all did, right?
Thinking Arkansas is going to be that physical team we saw,
Well, I thought-
and they
Yeah, we were all high on Arkansas at the beginning of the year because they looked really good, but they have just faltered off at the as the
Them,
season has gone
Auburn.
on.
Kentucky's
Kentucky.
done it.
Yeah,
It's just a weird thing. And I think that was the weird thing about this weekend is teams that I think, for me, that I thought were going to be strong just weren't, or they were strong. Like we all went Miss State over Auburn, but that was a back and forth game, went to overtime, and you know, Miss State pulled it out, but it was like, holy shit, man.
I was thinking about this, and I'll say it because I think it's applicable to Arkansas, and we'll see if it's applicable to other teams. Is sustained performance is hard.
Yes.
It just is. I don't know if it's a dynamic of who the coaches are, but in Arkansas's case, they didn't have coaching turnover. At least I don't
No.
think they did
not a lot
on the
if
offense
anything.
or defensive side, and head coach KJ Jefferson was back. So I don't know what the X factor is with them, where they're just not the same team this year.
Well,
And I'll say the same thing for Kentucky. You got the same starting quarterback. You got quality coaching staff.
quality
Not
running
the
backs.
same team. Now, we won't know until next year, and we'll see how things shake out. But it'll be a similar question for Tennessee next year. Did your recruiting give you the lifeblood you need to continue to be at that top tier? Or was it just some lightning in a bottle? Yeah, that was some weird combination of your quarterback, your staff, the members of your team, and it just, or schedule, and it all
You mean
just
it was
worked.
it's LSU 2019 all over again?
Well, exactly, and that's exactly the cautionary tale. Is there's no question Orgeron built one of the best teams we probably ever witnessed. That offense was absolutely unstoppable. They annihilated Oklahoma. I mean, they stopped scoring because they chose to, basically,
Not because they
in a
had to.
playoff,
Right.
and then one season later, the man's getting the boot because, frankly, Orgeron was he's just the face. He's not the
Right.
brains behind it.
What you mean?
Yeah. So that's what's so interesting to me of just what's different. And in the case of Arkansas, I don't really remember all their scores. I mean, I feel like they haven't just outright laid an egg, but you guys correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, and when Kentucky's case, they just got shellacked.
I mean,
by Tennessee.
they kind of got slacked by Alabama. They got slacked by Mississippi State. Kind of got
Okay.
slacked. I mean,
all right. Well, maybe the signs were there, and Max saw them a lot clearer than we did.
Well, again, we started this season and we were riding high on Arkansas. We were riding high on Kentucky. Arkansas is in the bottom of the West now, only ahead of Auburn and Texas A&M, who have both been struggling. And Kentucky's mid-table, one game ahead of Florida. You know what I'm saying? But both teams
Yeah.
started high on the horse. And the problem is Sam Pittman in Arkansas, he started high last season and they they petered out at the end. By the end of the season, they were struggling. It, like you mentioned, holding at that level is hard. Sustaining at a high level is tough. And clearly he hasn't developed a team in Arkansas that can sustain over the course of 12 games, because by midseason they're struggling. And by the end of the season, they've gone to shit. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Kentucky
I mean,
went
just
from being
focusing
ranked.
on Arkansas, I'm just mystified
Yeah,
by how big of a drop.
Kentucky went being ranked high to being unranked, by midseason. So, it's just one of those things where Haas, you've said it time and time again, it's the beauty of SEC football, but, we get into this part of the season and we're eating our own, as most conferences are when you're in conference play. That's going to happen. So I don't want to spend too much time, but Arkansas obviously dropping the ball to Liberty there at the end. Georgia, Tennessee. What do you say about this game? This looked like Tennessee versus Kentucky. I mean, Georgia was as dominant against Tennessee as Tennessee was against Kentucky in all phases of the game. I think Hendon Hooker, they got down and he started making some bad mistakes. I mean, I know he threw the interception early. I think it was to Ringo in the end zone.
Yep.
He just didn't look as poised and as comfortable as he had been in the first 9 weeks.
And I think this is the strongest defense Tennessee's really gone up against.
Oh yeah.
By any stretch of the imagination. So I think this just kind of really reaffirms that Georgia still should be the number one team in the country.
Yeah, I
put
AP, out
they are, with the exception of one vote, now solidly number one in the AP.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with the CFP ranking that Tennessee was one. I didn't agree with that. And that's why I put in a text, it's one versus, and maybe it wasn't to you, maybe it was to my dad, but it was like, it's 1 versus 2. Yep. Because the AP poll, they were 1 and 2, but in the CFP, I think they were 1 and 3. I don't think Tennessee should have been 1.
And I think last week you asked me if that bothered me, and
you're like, nope.
Like, the game's going to get played. It's
Right.
going to be just fine.
Right. Who cares what the rankings are?
Yeah. I mean, you got in the AP, it goes Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Tennessee dropped to 5. Oregon has now climbed the ladder back up to 6. LSU at 7, USC at 8, UCLA, Alabama at 10. And I'll just leave it at that in terms of the top 10. So we've started to see the changes now.
But Mac, your Liberty Flames are 19th. I mean, they're ahead of Notre Dame.
Yeah, you know who's not in the conversation? Clemson.
They got beaten in every respect.
Yes, they did.
I'm
shellac
so
applies
sad.
here again.
Oh my God, poor Clemson win.
And I was trading some text with Doc on this. It's just with Clemson right now, it's like, who are they? You can't point to anything to kind of identify their identity.
Right.
You already know there's a crisis of confidence with their starting quarterback, and they played them both in this game, as I understand it, and they just got beaten all phases of the game.
And that's how you win.
Yeah.
Unless you're South Carolina and you can do it with special teams.
Yeah.
Preach, brother.
At the end of the day, Georgia is the outright number 1, which is where they should be. They demonstrated why they should be there at this point. I don't see them losing that spot riding out the end of the season, and they should roll into the SEC championship, whoever they're facing on the other side of the conference. And that may be a done deal at this point, because I'm not even sure. I think LSU is sitting in the top spot in the other side of the conference right now.
They're technically same number of losses. They're like 7-2, 7-2 or something like that. But LSU is now top. I think Ole Miss is in the second position.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: we're going to find out a lot about Tennessee next week.
Yes,
because they play Mizzou, and kind of pivoting into the Mizzou Kentucky game. Mizzou may be the best
underrated team,
like wins-loss team I've seen, because they play hard, they play consistent. They had a chance to win that game. If you didn't see it, they going into that last 9 minutes, Kentucky scores the touchdown. It gets called back for, I think, illegal motion or something along those lines. There's a fumble that ultimately gets called back, and I agree with it. It wasn't a fumble when you looked at it, but they go on to score. Mizzou isn't able to capitalize on the next possession. Kentucky gets the ball, they get stopped. And if you saw this particular play, it was crazy time shit show. Long snapper snaps it over Richardson, I think is his name, the senior punter from Kentucky. It's on the 2-yard line. That man picks up the ball faster than I've ever seen a punter pick it up and twist his body, and he
To
punts
get it out. Right.
And because he was still in the tackle box, when he gets leveled, which he did because he got carted off with who knows what injury, he was in immense pain if you saw his face. They got him for roughing the kicker, giving Kentucky a 1st and 10, which is really what sealed the deal. And then you think back to the Auburn game where you're like, oh my God, he fumbled into the end zone. Like Missouri, I have a lot of respect for them as a program right now, and I hate it for them on their win-loss record because they're playing hard. And credit to Eli Drinkwitz and that team, because those guys, they give it their all, and they're not going to give you an easy game. They just aren't.
And I can appreciate that. And again, they held in there with Kentucky, and I know Kentucky may not be the Kentucky at the beginning of the season, but I mean, they did well, and I was hoping for a win. Unfortunately, we didn't get it. It is what it is. Alabama LSU. I mean, this one, fucking overtime. LSU pulls out the win.
I'll pile onto this one real quick. I can't talk shit about Kelly anymore, can I? He's making me eat some crow here.
Yeah.
He had the team ready. Now, I will say, a lot like the Georgia game, that home field advantage was felt.
Yes.
But LSU showed out. They played consistent. They played all 4 quarters. They played with a lot of heart. And when it came down to that, I mean, Bryce Young was running for his life a good portion of that game from the highlights I saw. When it came down to making that ballsy decision of going for the 2-point conversion, Brian Kelly did it, and they're walking away winners. So credit to them.
Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, Bryce Young was still 25 for 51, 328 yards. Jaden Daniels, 22 for 32, only 182 yards. But of course, LSU's rushing, nearly 200 yards of rushing helped.
And that's the thing, like right now with, again, talking with Doc on text, like with Alabama, it's Will Anderson and Bryce Young.
Right.
Beyond that, you just don't know who their true threats are. I mean, Jermaine Burton transferred from Georgia, and admittedly, it gives me some pleasure that he really hasn't amounted to much over there. So they don't have a Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith.
They don't have the debt yet, Devontae. Yep.
They don't have
not
those
like they used to.
that just take the top end off of a defense and make you play different.
Right.
And in the SEC, that it's a lot of physical man to man. So the openings are either there or they aren't. You can't exploit the zone to create just space. Like, you got to outright beat the guy across from you, and it didn't happen.
Well, and again, I would think that says the same thing about Tennessee and Georgia, or Georgia at large. In my opinion, I know he's out there. I know 84 is out there, but at the end of the day, Brock Bowers is only your go-to target. I mean, he's your big guy, and he gets a lot of, and it's like, as a defense, account for the guy. And yet he manages to get open, and it's like, you have to account for him.
I would tell you he's just that good.
He clearly is.
But you can't. The problem teams have is they can't ignore Darnell Washington.
Well, no, because he's 6'7", 900 pounds, and it's fucking ridiculous.
Right.
But
And it's a dilemma for the defense, and you've got to make choices. That's the way the whole concept is designed. And so when, I think Todd Monken, OC for Georgia in his 3rd year, he kind of let Stetson Bennett start making his own. Like, this was always where they wanted to be, where they told Stetson, I've given you all the tools.
Make
some judgments on the field. And, Arian Smith, who has been injured, we saw him take over off that one. And I think there was a hold on both those, whether it was enough to matter. Obviously he caught one and not the other. but Rosemary Jack Saint, is talented. It's just, even if it's not your best player, the other players are good enough where you can't just say,
Ignore them.
I'm
Right.
going to ignore them because they'll make
Yeah,
you pay.
But I'm sorry, in college football, no defense has a cover corner or a free safety that is 6'7", 250. Covering Washington is almost impossible because he's going up against guys where he clearly has a 6, 7, 8-inch
A
height
distinct
advantage.
physical advantage.
Yes.
All
And
across
never
the
mind
board.
if he catches the ball, you're trying
Right.
to tackle the fucking freight train.
Mhm.
Makes it difficult. All right, let's keep rolling. We talked about Alabama, LSU, Mississippi State, Auburn. Another fucking ridiculous game. If you didn't watch this game, Mississippi State, they managed to get it. They tie it up on the kickoff. After tying it up on the kickoff. Now, I will say this, and I don't know if you know this. Cadillac Williams is the interim head coach for Auburn, of course, who used to play for Auburn. He was a standout there.
Mm-hmm.
And this I don't get, and not that it mattered. Cadillac Williams thinks he's going to be cute, and they bring out the kicker for Mississippi State to kick a field goal, and it's going to be a long one. So what's he do? He waits till the last minute, and he ices the kicker. And they reset, and they get back to the line. And what does he do? He thinks he's going to be cute, and he ices the kicker a second time. Now, of course, what he does is he waits till the last minute. Both times they hike the ball, he kicks the ball, and he gets it through the uprights. So he's now out of timeouts. On the third kick, he can't ice the timer. He kicks it. He makes good on it. He's now wasted 2 fucking timeouts, and they're going to get the ball back with like 40 seconds, and now no timeouts. Like, to me, I know coaches think they're going to be cute with this whole icing the kicker bullshit. You guys have your own kicker. He stands on the sideline for 59 and a half minutes every game and practices kicks so that he can come in for 30 seconds. Why are you wasting your timeouts trying to ice a kicker who spends almost 60 minutes a game doing nothing but kicking on the sidelines? Then when you get the ball back, or what would have been getting the ball back, you have no timeouts. So you're fucked. Now, the weird part that happens is Mississippi State comes out to kick off. He tries to squib kick, nails the fucking Auburn player right in the chest, and the ball bounces back to Mississippi State, and they get the ball back. And then they can and basically try to walk down and end the game right there. But it's just like, dude, it's like, what are coaches? Sometimes I don't get what coaches are thinking.
Well, I mean, you said it. He's not been a head coach. I mean,
Right.
He's technically the first African-American coach for Auburn.
Kudos as the interim.
And I will say the Ronnie Brown, Cadillac Williams duo at running back may have been one of the best offenses I've ever witnessed in my lifetime in college football. It destroyed Georgia when they played us, and it was just fast, frenetic. It was creative. Anyway,
Doesn't mean you can coach.
Yeah, it's until you're in those moments, you just don't understand the pressure of it's you have to make the call. And this is why a lot of people who like, I think I've got it all, I think I know all their answers. It's like, well, in the moment, you may not, because you're in a pressure, you're sitting inside a pressure cooker with everybody looking to you to make that decision.
Yep.
As opposed to the guy that's over there flinging the ball in the air going, I'd just kick it. Right. Okay, jackass.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't pay off. Now, on the sideline, he had a lot of energy. He was motivating his players. Great. But when it comes to decision making, I think some of that may be questionable, because if you're going to get the ball back, you're going to want those timeouts, because all you got to do is get in field goal range at that point. But now you got no timeouts. And so it becomes a tenuous situation. I just think it was poor coaching at the end there by
How about
Auburn.
Mike Leach going over and putting away all the chairs? I think for his receiving core, he went over and he himself was folding all the chairs up. It was like, you motherfuckers are not going to sit here.
No, exactly. It was a good game. Mississippi State pulled it out. So thankfully we all got that win. But another one that went to overtime, and it was definitely an interesting game. It was a wild one at the end. All right, let's move on to Florida, Texas A&M. Mac, we haven't heard from you, brother. I'd like you to weigh in here. You haven't had much to say. Still doesn't have much to say. All right.
I thought know what to even talk about here. I mean,
I thought AR had a great game. Finally, he played well. He didn't fucking hammer every ball like a rifle shot that I've complained all season.
Yeah.
He put some touch on the ball. He did very well. It was more like he did in game 1 against Utah. And so it was nice to see. And then Grinch, as I said in text, Texas A&M is just Jimbo being Jimbo. I'm not sure at $98 million that guy's the guy. Not
Yeah.
where they're current. That doesn't look like they're going to potentially even be bowl eligible this year after buying a fucking team.
Do you think the flu bug or whatever it was running around was really the difference?
I mean, maybe not. I mean, this is 5 losses in a row for like the number 1 recruiting class.
And Haynes King in the first half, Haynes King played really well at quarterback. But the second half, Florida figured him out, and he just started making bad decisions. And I know they were playing from behind, and when you play from behind, you try to force things you shouldn't, and it forces a whole different side of the playbook. But yeah, the second half never looked comfortable, and Florida finally settled in. Their running backs were making good progress. A.R. Richardson was able to, A.R. was throwing better. And so I think that was one of the things for me. And it was just like Florida coming off the drubbing by Georgia. Texas A&M has been struggling. Yes, they're at home, but maybe Haas, you're right. Maybe the flu bug did help, or gonorrhea, or whatever you called it. Maybe that helped Florida. I don't know.
Well, I know it didn't hurt them.
No, it couldn't have hurt him. Yeah,
I mean, you have 12
absolutely.
starters not starting. I mean, that's a big deal.
I'm
Really?
a little,
It's the SEC. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and here's the thing that bothers me. I mean, I don't like Jimbo, but there are other teams who won't tell you everybody's sick because they don't want that to be known until after the game. And I feel like this got floated out as an excuse for what might happen. And then you either look good because you overcame it, or it's like, I mean, if we hadn't had so many people sick, that's why it just bothers me.
Right.
I'm like, you still got to show up. I mean, that's the whole reason you recruit. That's the whole reason you build depth on your team. It is what it is.
And Florida had almost 300 yards of rushing. So I mean, they're rushing clearly in this game. The defense by Texas A&M was non-existent, at least the run defense, because they put almost 300 yards of rushing. So I was happy to see Florida pull the win. The chances of them becoming bowl eligible are greater, which I'm happy with. And I think as a first-year head coach, that's what you want. You at least want to make that bowl game and show, potential players. And Grinch, I know you sent out that list from Georgia of all the recruits they were bringing in. That's what you want. You need to be bowl eligible. You need to have a good showing.
New Alabama.
I think they're going to be, absolutely. I don't think Tennessee's hurting their cause either in terms of recruiting this season. So
no, but I think the way Georgia's stacking the deck, I think they're the new Alabama.
It just, I mean, to me, you look at Clemson and Alabama right now, and all of us are going, well, what happened? I mean, they're a dynasty, same head coach. I got with Saban, he constantly deals with changeover, although this was one of the fewest amount of coaching changes he's probably dealt with in quite some time. But it's kind of inexplicable, right?
Lasts forever, right? I mean, it's eventually going to have some changeover.
My love for you, Mac. It lasts forever.
They're dynasties and they're dinosaurs in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a point at which they're just getting outdated. Philosophies change, and maybe Saban's a different mindset now, and that mindset
can't relate to the kids and motivate them.
And Kirby Smart has a different mindset, and he's now becoming kind of the preeminent model that teams are going to look at. I don't know, but at the end of the day, you're going to look at all these, like a Jimbo who came up under a Saban, and you expect a certain caliber because he coached, because that's what they always go to. Oh, every time I'm sick of seeing that goddamn thing. He's a
Saban
coach.
disciple. He's a Saban disciple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like what is he? He's not Jesus Christ. Come on, that's blasphemy, fellas. No. This is the Southeastern Conference.
Exactly. So, all right, let's get to the last game of the weekend. South Carolina Vanderbilt. Hosh, you got anything to say about this one?
Yeah, I actually watched it. I went back and forth between that and the Alabama LSU game. I mean, Spencer Rattler, I think he threw for close to 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, they had moments where they looked good, and they obviously looked better than they did against Missouri, because I think they had more total yardage in the first quarter and points than they had all of last week. So, I mean, look, it's Vanderbilt, right? Like, I mean, I'm not happy that they let Vanderbilt put 20, almost 30 points up on them, but, you win by 11, you get out with a W, you move on because we know next week's going to be a shit ton of fun. In fact, the next 3 weeks are going to be a shit ton of fun for South Carolina. But we're now bowl eligible for 2 years in a row.
You take that.
We'll see what we can do with it. Build on it, I hope. I would have liked for them to beat Missouri last week and to have six game win streak, which I think would have been the first time since like 2012.
But
That'd
that
have been
didn't
yummy.
happen. Yeah.
But you know, I mean, they bounced back, and so hopefully this gets them geared psychologically and maybe methodically in the right direction for the next 3 games, because the next 3 games are going to be a hell of a run.
Yeah, and we're about to make those picks, so it'll be interesting to see. Although, surprisingly enough, I think Vandy only loses this game. More first downs, equal time of possession, a little more possession by Vandy. Almost identical in terms of total yardage, but they had 4 turnovers.
The key was the turnovers, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we've talked about this before. You win the turnover battle, you're more likely to win. I think one of the problems South Carolina had against Missouri is they had no turnovers against Missouri, and I think Missouri had 4 against them.
Your other problem is your penalties. You were 12 for 116
yards. Yeah, I saw Coach Beamer talked about that in his after press conference about how they've got to clean this stuff up because he knows the next 3 weeks are going to be brutal, and you can't go into Florida. You know, you can't play Tennessee, and you can't go into Clemson and, you know, have these things where when you're beating yourself.
Right. And those are ways you beat yourself: turnovers, penalties, things like that.
100%.
And you clearly need to clean up your run defense because you let them put up almost 230 yards.
I couldn't believe it, actually, because generally our run defense is pretty stout.
Yeah. Apparently not today. 226 yards.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And of course, we didn't have Marshawn Lloyd. But apparently they got. I liked some of the creativity they were using to get the ground game going. It was nice. It's good to see them come up with a quick game plan. You know.
Yep.
And we'll see how
points.
Yep.
This is the first time Alabama and Clemson have lost on the same day in the modern era.
Good. Couldn't happen to 2 more fitting teams.
Oh, damn it. What was the second point? Oh, if you look at Florida A&M did not score in the second half. So clearly halftime adjustments were a big factor in that. They were in that game, and then at halftime, just nothing coming out of the locker room. So I guess credit, to the Florida Gators and Coach Napier for the changes they made, because it was obviously the difference.
Now, I will say this, and I think whoever sent out the article, if it was Grinch or Mac or whoever, the Brendan Cox Jr., I'm okay with separating from a player if he's got a problem, if your intent is to build a culture that says we don't accept that shit, because that was a big card for them on the defense. Now, obviously, they stepped up. Ventrell Miller as the kind of the heart and soul of our defense there at Florida, had an excellent game against Texas A&M. As you just said, they didn't score, but my hope is that Napier is trying to establish a culture that says if you're going to act like a fucking asshole, there's no place here for you. Hit the road. And maybe that's what happened with Brendan Cox Jr. I don't know, but I'm hoping if that is the case, that's what he's trying to establish. And we'll see moving down the road how that all plays out. So, all right. So there you go. There's the week that was. Let's go ahead and move on to the week that will be. Haas, brother, 2 games up. You are sitting in the top spot, which means you pick first. Grinch, I know we didn't get to it, so let's jump over there real quick. I didn't log the score.
Chanticleers, they beat App State.
They beat App State.
I know, right?
So there you go, Grinch. You and
I've got to win outright. Holy shit!
Now Grinch and I are tied
So
in the top
screwed.
spot. So I'm going to ask you right now, Grinch. I can flip the coin for the second spot because Haas is going to pick first. If you don't care, if you want me to go,
I don't care. If kind of like you did with Haas previous, if it's 1 week and the other week, you can flip. Just for the sake of it being arbitrary for who goes, or objective, maybe.
Gotcha. I can do that. So we'll do Haas first, and then we'll go ahead and figure out you and I, and then Mac, obviously, you'll pick last. All right. So let me go ahead and just drop a list so I have it for you, Haas. And you will pick first, brother. All right. So we're going to start. LSU rolling into Razorback Stadium.
LSU, man.
LSU it is.
LSU's rolling, and Arkansas is shit in the bed.
There you go. Texas A&M at Auburn.
We'll come back.
Okay. South Carolina, Florida.
We'll come back.
Vanderbilt, Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Alabama at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
this is gonna be
mean-
a good one. You want? I got to come back to that one too.
Yeah, no, I think I'm still gonna go. I'm gonna go Alabama,
Okay. Georgia, Miss State,
Georgia,
and Missouri, Tennessee.
Tennessee. All right, so
Haas, I don't see a line on Alabama Ole Miss yet, but I've noticed on the ESPN page sometimes I have to like refresh to get it to populate because I've got almost every game besides that one.
Let me see if I can find it.
That's the only one I see. No, there's actually 3 games I don't see it for, even though it says odds provided by Caesar Sportsbook.
You're talking about Alabama, Ole Miss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And I just say because I'm trying to bring it up for all of us since I know Mac wants to know the weather.
Alabama is a 13.5-point favorite.
Okay. So let's get back to LSU, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Oh
I
no,
think
you said that.
LSU
I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Texas A&M.
I'm gonna go. I mean, both of these teams have lost like 5 games in a row. I'm gonna go with A&M. I think they've got more talent. They're better coached. I mean, I'm not kind of like Williams haven't shown. If anything, he proved last week that he doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
So I'll err on the side of caution.
Okay.
And then South Carolina, Florida. I looked at the line. It's 50-50. No one's giving me. Grinch, do you see an actual line?
Yeah, 8 in favor of Florida.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I really want to go South Carolina here, but I mean, they're in the swamp. Couldn't get past Missouri.
Do it.
They beat Vanderbilt,
it.
but I mean, it wasn't a fine showing. So
I'm hearing.
and then
do it.
Florida looked good against
Do it.
A&M. So I gotta go Florida.
Go Nike.
Yeah.
Just do it.
If I wasn't up by 2 games, I would take a shot. But nope.
He's going to force the others to make some
That's right.
decisions here.
Sure am. That's what you
All
get to
right.
do in first place, right, Grinch?
That's it.
It is.
So you are LSU, Texas A&M,
It is.
Florida,
You
Vanderbilt,
take all the safe bets, make others be crazy.
Alabama, Georgia,
I did not
Tennessee.
pick Vanderbilt. I picked Kentucky. Good try, though.
Oh darn!
Nice try. Nice try. You're a
missed
funny guy.
Really? Vandy's favored by 24.
Uh-huh.
That'd be funny. So those are your picks locked in. There you go. All right,
LSU.
Grinch.
Yeah. A&M.
Grinch,
Yeah.
you want to call it heads or
Kentucky,
tails?
yeah.
Heads.
And it is tailsies.
Okay.
So I'll go
Flip
first.
it
I actually
over
I don't
off camera
fucking care.
there.
It's not
Yeah,
gonna matter.
I don't really either. That's
It doesn't give a fuck. I'll go first. Off camera, on camera, it won't matter. Either way, he's still going to have to make his choices regardless. I'm going to take LSU over Arkansas as well. I'm going to go
Here's
Florida
what's
over.
crazy to me. The opening line is that LSU is a 2-point favorite.
I saw that. I saw 2 points. How is that possible? What did the bookies know that we don't know other than they want people betting on Arkansas?
That's probably
Right.
what it is.
Or this flu could be going on even longer.
Hmm.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that was
LSU.
come on,
I'm
yeah.
going
Go
to
ahead,
take
sorry.
LSU over Arkansas. I'm going to take Florida over South Carolina, Kentucky over Vanderbilt, Alabama over Ole Miss, Georgia over Miss State, Tennessee over Missouri. Now Auburn over Texas A&M. What'd you say the line was? Like 8 points, or was that a different game?
I actually don't have the line for that
Yeah,
one.
sorry, I closed out. Sorry, give me a second. I'll
Yeah,
pull
I
it
think
back up.
8 points was the Florida South Carolina game.
Oh, was
Texas,
that Florida,
yeah,
South
Texas
Carolina?
A&M, Auburn is. Here we go. Action Network, 1.5 in favor of the Aggies. It's a 50. Basically, it's a 50-50. So if you're gonna take a shot, this is the one you take a shot.
Auburn.
Yeah.
I'm going to roll Auburn here. Playing at home, Texas A&M is just
I
fucking
mean,
struggled.
Well, they've
Been a
struggled.
shit
Auburn,
show.
they're both 3-6. They've lost 6 in a row or 5 in a row each.
Yeah, and
Like
and
it's woof.
I mean, at least at least Auburn played Miss State close, where Texas A&M they let Florida eventually walk away with it. Second half, they were basically a non-factor there. I'm going to go Auburn, maybe playing at home here because, like you said, like you're 2 up, and there are only a few weeks left. Choices have to get made. That's the only one I feel confident actually
I feel you, dog.
taking
I
a
get
shot
it.
at. So that's
Same
what
boat
I'm
I'd
going
be
with.
in.
All right, Grinch. Now it is you, brother. LSU at Arkansas.
LSU,
Texas A&M Auburn.
Auburn.
What you fucking smiling for? What the fuck you smiling for? South Carolina, Florida.
South Carolina.
South Carolina heard.
And look,
No, I'll go Florida.
we all
Okay.
know it's possible. The last time the three of us were in a game together, it happened. So
That's true.
don't act like it's not possible.
Except that was played there, not here. So
Fair enough.
Vanderbilt, Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Alabama, Ole Miss.
I have not seen a line on that one either.
Will you look that up? We'll come back
Yep.
to it. Georgia, Miss State. I'm assuming Georgia.
Yep, Georgia.
And Missouri, Tennessee. Really? You're looking for a line on that one too?
No, I'll go Tennessee.
Okay. And again, remember this, gentlemen. You can't take them with you. Your wild cards are still out there. Sans Haas, he's used his. So remember, if you want to swap, you can.
Alabama, Ole Miss. Alabama's currently a 13.5 favorite.
Interesting.
Thinking
Yeah, I'll go
everybody-
Bama.
Okay. So there we go. And again, just revisiting the wild card, it doesn't require any notice to anybody else on the show. All you got to do is contact me and say you want to change it. Just let me know, and we're good. Mac, I apologize for missing yours. I can change those if you want from last week.
Well,
Yeah,
and here's
we'll talk
here's
about
my
that later.
thing with some of the picks I've made this season is it's more I'm intrigued if it's going to go the way you think,
Right.
because I really want to know what is Tennessee made of. Because Mizzou is a physical team,
Right.
and I think they can win, but it's the classic, like, is Tennessee going to take out all their frustration on them, or are they going to just like mentally
Are
in the
they
locker
beat? Are they?
room,
Yeah.
are they like, we just aren't as good as we think we were? Because Pitt took them down to the wire. It's not like they haven't had challenges, but you could say the same thing about Georgia with Mizzou and Kent State, right?
Right.
So it's like
Absolutely.
you can look for the subjective confirmation if you wanted to.
All right. So there you go. LSU, Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. Okie doke. Mac, now we fall to you, brother. LSU, Arkansas.
LSU.
Auburn, Texas A&M.
Shit. Hey, Grinch, can you give me the weather forecast for that game on
Yeah.
Saturday? We'll come back. to
Sunny,
it.
59 degrees.
There you go. Sunny, 59 degrees. No need to
Actually,
come
that's
back.
the current.
Now you know.
That's the current weather.
That's fine. That's what he can use. So you want Texas A&M? That's what I'm hearing. Texas A&M it is. Florida, South
I'm
Carolina.
taking Texas A&M. Yeah.
Here's what's
Uh,
weird. It's 59 degrees at Jordan Hare Stadium. Meanwhile, we're sweating where
Oh my
we
God, it's
are right
ridiculous
now.
outside.
It's
Yeah.
in the
That works.
70s. Like,
Nice.
It's
Anyway.
humid.
South Carolina, Florida.
I'm going Florida,
Vanderbilt, Kentucky.
Kentucky,
Alabama, Ole Miss.
Alabama,
Georgia, Miss State.
Georgia,
Missouri,
and
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Okay, there you go. So they are all locked in now. LSU, Texas A&M. You did want Texas A&M.
No, you can leave it there. That way I can cry foul later. No, I do want Texas A&M. It's
Okay.
on record now.
It is on record. All right, so let's jump over here. Haas, obviously you go first. Southern
I
Miss.
gotta go Southern Miss. I gotta keep taking these shots. Fuck you, Coastal Carolina. You
All right. I'm gonna go Coastal. That's not me.
As am I.
God damn it. That is me.
This is me.
I keep forgetting I'm okay. You're also going Coastal. Mac, what about you, brother? Southern Miss or Coastal?
Yeah, I'm taking Coastal. They're 8-1. I don't think the 5-4 Southern Miss is
Miss.
going to come in and make a big showing there. So
So let's go ahead and save it. Week 11 is locked in. We're done. The week that was is behind us. We're heading towards the week that will be, and we'll see how all this goes. Only 2 weeks left after that. So again, the choices, we got to be careful about the choices we make. Football in the South, the SEC, we are locked in. We are ready to go. Looking forward to week 11. We'll see how all of this plays out. As always, I appreciate you guys coming on here, giving me your hot takes and your perspectives. South Carolina, may you roll on with your special teams. Georgia, you are the undisputed number one. In Florida, just get fucking bowl eligible. That's all we care about. Gentlemen, love doing this with you week in and week out. And we'll do this again next week. So thank you.
Have a good one, fellas.
Thank you.
Mhm.